football news, debate, analysis, and opinion. Join Top Football Club. Watch live on YouTube or on the Top FC News website, or listen live on the AMP app and on your smart speaker. Top Football Club. Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? I hope we're good as far as audio. Welcome to Football Tonight. We changed the name of it, formerly Soccer Talk. We're going to keep the Soccer Talk in parentheses. That way, people know it's us. And, of course, they're seeing our face.
Football Tonight. I like it. Man. Football Tonight with Chris and Laurent. That sounds awesome.
It is, yes. And we have had such a busy weekend. Football has started. And
we could do an hour just on Caicedo, Liverpool, Lavia.
That was a big
whole thing.
That's a big, and we're going to get into that. We're definitely going to get into that. And so
that's crazy.
And people are going to ask, why are we changing it from soccer to football? Are we falling into the, people, the bullying that we get from people from saying, it's called football, not soccer? Well, I've always called it either or. It doesn't matter to me, but I felt it more like, because we're focused on European football, so you know what I mean. I call it U.S. soccer and European football. You know what I mean? It's actually a football, and this is a football show where you actually put your foot to the ball,
the ball,
not throw an egg-shaped ball and call it football.
Yes.
Anyways, the Premier League started this weekend. Started Friday with the champions taking on the powerful
the great and powerful Burnley.
Yes. And
they were good.
For the first before for the first few minutes I thought it was going to be great, but then Manchester City just took it over.
Just said enough of that.
What do you think of the champions? We got to talk about the champions. What do you think? And it's your team.
Yes, that's my club. You can see that is Main Road behind me. No longer with us. The blessed Main Road. As a City fan, I actually embody some of the old school City mentality. I always think we're terrible. I always think we're going to lose. I can't believe we're as good as we are, and that we're currently the holders of the FA Cup, the European Cup, and the Premier League title. That seems insane to me. City played a very, very strange lineup that they've never played before. When I saw Akanji and Aki with Walker and Rico Lewis, I was like, oh my God, we're doomed. And then also De Bruyne, Alvarez, and Haaland, never seen. So basically, City played a lineup I have never seen, never played that group ever together. That was weird. Then, of course, the goal came really early, which settled everything. A really nice goal. I mean, Erling Haaland he's just a monster beast, destroyer of worlds. He is the Oppenheimer of football. He is the destroyer of worlds, especially if he's not your world. But then I think after that, I think Burnley acquitted themselves really. They really got after City. They went man to man. Pep literally was yelling at Haaland at halftime, like, what are you doing? You're causing us problems. And City and Pep talked about how they had to change, right? When Burnley went man for man all over the pitch, the side had to adjust. And they just started going long, and Ederson, started playing long balls out of the back. And that kind of broke everything up, because when you're being played man to man, the free player is the keeper. And so what they did was they'd isolate Haaland on his own and let him go one-on-one. And that kind of let City get control. And then Burnley tired. And the second goal really killed them just before halftime. So once City got the second goal, the second half was really kind of a training exercise. And Burnley really didn't give up, but they just never really threatened City again. They didn't really have any chances. But first half, again, it was just like the FA Cup game where Burnley weirdly played really well and lost 6-0 because that can happen with City. Like, they gave up a set piece goal and they gave up a crazy shot from Haaland, and then one other goal on the break to was it Foden? Was it Cole Palmer? I don't even remember who it was. Anyway, but City win pretty easy, not really a problem. I can go through the rest of the scores if we like. Let's record them up. I think you did the Arsenal game. What'd you see there?
Well, I thought Arsenal looked pretty good in the beginning, but they were good throughout the game. That's not the problem. But what I don't like in teams is just assuming the games are over, and this phrase 2-0. The 2-0, a 2-0 win in the game.
Dangerous
the score
line, yeah.
it's a dangerous score. However, besides that, I mean, you just let Forest have the ball, have the control of the game. And I didn't like that because I felt like Arsenal could have easily just finished the match and it would have been good. So that right there, and then Nottingham Forest actually. I don't want to, say something wrong here, but they seemed like they were in that play when I forgot his name when he came in the game.
Which player?
Not the one that scored the first goal. Ngala, Elanga, and
yes. From Manchester United, really good.
They could not stop him. Yes, and he made that play where he was unguardable, and then he crossed it, and the other guy was able to score. And so, and then right there, that was a different game. And then you saw Arsenal.
Yeah, then it was nervy towards the back end of the game.
Exactly. And so, but really, I mean, Declan Rice was on point all over the floor, all over the pitch, rather. He was, what you expect him to be. Really, he's not the greatest defender, but he's not the greatest offender either. But he does everything just correctly.
And he's got a motor, man. He just goes.
Yes, and he's always. I mean, can you imagine really running the pitch back and forth like that? I mean, you must be exhausting. But one player in particular that I really like was Martinelli. I mean, Martinelli, when he wants to, nobody can guard him when it comes to dribbling, and he was able to capitalize. And of course, Saka, incredible goal.
Amazing, such a good finisher.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if Martinelli meant on the first goal if he meant to pass it to Nketiah. But he makes the spin and it hits off his. It looks great. It doesn't matter. It worked. The one thing I thought about this game was Thomas Partey playing fullback, which was totally weird. And then the other big news out of this game is Timber might be already out for the season. He did his knee, came out in the 50th minute. He looked so good, and he meant so much to part of the offseason plans for Arsenal to have that depth in the back line, and now they've already lost him. So that's really a shame. And then a little shout out to our friends Christian in the WhatsApp group. Please let us know in the comments if you want to join it. We'll send that to you. Christian, who's our resident Nottingham Forest fan, he'll know and he'll be aware of this. Forest always give way too much respect to opponents. And I think once they decided, hey, we can do something in this game, then they were able to kick on. And you'd like to see that from Forest earlier rather than just give the ball and get beat and then go, oh, look, we can play. It may have been planned. It's very reminiscent. I don't know if you remember, Rafa Benitez used to do this with Newcastle, and we'll talk about Newcastle next. He would sit off, and you were just like, what are they doing? And then they'd like they had a bell that they rung. On 80 minutes, they would go, okay, it's time to go try and win this game. And for 20 minutes, for 15 minutes, they try and go and try and win a game. And it felt like that's kind of like what Forest did, where they sat off for way too long before they kicked on. I really, you don't know this, but I'm a big fan of Steve Cooper. I think that Nottingham Forest will be fine. I think that they probably have enough just because I believe in him. That's really my thing. And my reason for that, and this is my funny joke, is no one that ugly could be the leader of men if he wasn't very good at his job, because the man is just the least attractive human in the world. There's a heuristic that I read in a book. There's a heuristic that I read in a book a long time ago, and it was this. If you have two doctors of equal quality, one's tall and handsome and looks great, and one's covered in blood wearing an apron and who's short, bald, and fat, go with the short, bald, and fat guy, because that guy had to work as hard as he could to overcome what he looks like to be a great doctor. So that's how I think about with Steve Cooper. That guy looks so funky that, he's got to be a great leader of men, because I would have a hard time looking at him in the face all day. Sorry, Steve Cooper. I'm a big fan. You just don't look great.
How does Jurrien Timber's absence? It looks like it might be a couple of games. Really, how does it really affect a team that really? I understand that he is a player that they want to use, but really hasn't played for the team.
No, I mean he only played. Only just played. I think it matters in that he looked so good early on, and he gave them a level of athleticism and cover. Right. I mean, the guy's built like a brick shithouse. He could run all day. He was designed there to be on the back line, especially on the two left-sided sides, because I believe, and I'd have to double check, I believe that he is a left-footed player, which these days we have very particular about left-footed, left-sided, left foot every time. Yeah. Oh, no, he's right-footed. So maybe I got that wrong. But I thought that, he was good on that side. He's one of the highly rated players around the world, had a great season for Ajax, only 21 years old. He was going to provide cover all season and be one of these ball-playing center backs. But now they don't have the cover for him anymore. So they kind of go back to what they were before, but with Tomiyasu. I think that I said this in my show in the Squeaky Bum Time. I think the goal is to replace Gabriel. I think he was the weaker link between. No, Gabriel, not Gabriel Jesus.
Oh, Gabriel the midfielder, okay.
The center back. The center back. Yeah, okay. He came in after the injury just to solidify things because he's the center back in that defense who can't play. And he's not good enough as a defending defender to be there. And he's the one who makes mistakes. And he was there who's rash. So to have someone next to Saliba who is has got the mantle from Virgil van Dijk as best super handsome, amazing European tall center back who makes your whole defense look like it's the greatest defense in the world because he's just where he's supposed to be. So that does hurt Arsenal. But again, I still think, and I'm picking them to win the league just because I think it'll be really hard for City, not because I think Arsenal is particularly better than City. I just think that it's going to be really tough for City to win the game. One thing I didn't mention in the City game was Kevin De Bruyne going off with the groin injury and hamstring injury that he had in the Champions League final that he'd been nursing all season. And now he's got a recurrence of his hamstring injury. It could happen. His career, he's 34, a lot of miles, a lot of playing, a lot of minutes for Belgium. He could just go. Guys' hamstrings become something that just gets hurt all the time, right? It could be like a stretched rubber band that doesn't have any elasticity anymore. And if he's not part of City's plans, it's going to mean City's going to have to make themselves into something new again. Anyway, Newcastle. Did you watch it?
The incredible, yes, the Newcastle and that stuff. I mean, that was incredible. Tonali, just coming in and doing his thing.
You've got to take though on that Tonali.
I got to take. I told you on the chat. I said Tonali is better to me than Caicedo and well.
So why do you say that?
Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think that Declan Rice or Caicedo are better than him. And I know that I understand that this is the Premier League and it's a tougher league than most. I'm going to say that because I don't really like saying this is the best, that, because in reality, I will agree with, what's his name? Jordan, his last name is Jordan, and on TalkSport.
Simon Jordan?
Simon Jordan. So I will agree when he said this today, actually. He said the Premier League is the most broadcasted league in the world, and that's why people just get to watch it and get to enjoy it and get to know about it more than others, even though others are known as well. So, but that's not the debate right now. The debate is why do I think Tonali is not better, but I don't think the others are better than him, even though they paid more money for him. It's just simply because Declan Rice is in England. English people are going to talk about him more. He's going to be known there more in the Premier League, of course. In Caicedo, he's just a startup player that just came out of nowhere, and he's a boom. Like he's a headline from being bought by how much? Like $2-3 million.
113 million pounds.
No, I'm talking about when he was bought from Ecuador.
Oh, two.
Exactly. So
2 million.
You know what I mean? So it is a big story, and a lot of people were talking about how Brighton does great things as far as business, deals with players and stuff. How Incredible. They have a good eye, and I do agree with that. But I think that we just are people that focus much on the Premier League itself. I don't think that they focus
Yeah,
on other
yeah.
leagues as much and other players.
I agree. I agree with you. I think fundamentally, like, I didn't know Tonali well, and yes, sure, AC Milan is in the Champions League, but if they're not in your group, you don't see them, right? If you're not up for watching Italian soccer, it's not in your sort of purview. It's not there. The thing I'll say about Tonali is and it's usually a mark of success. The guy was a regular at 17 years old in Brescia, brought them up, then brought them down, then moves on to Milan, where, he's been a regular in the middle of that team from 20 years old. When you're 20 years old and you're in the midfield of a big club, regardless of what Milan is or isn't, even if they're bad, they have demanding fans, and in Italy, it's a big deal, right? Yeah. To be part of Milan, win the Scudetto that season is a big deal to put Milan back on the map, then go to the semifinal against Inter in the final and be part of that team. He's a good player. Listen, he hasn't had like a 15 assist season or a 10 goal season, but he's growing and getting there, and he's gotten better in his goals plus assists nearly every season. And what I saw from him in Newcastle was an additive player that can lift Newcastle's responsibility. You can't just mark Bruno. You can't just take your Caicedo, your Conte, your Rodri's, your holding mids or your forwards and say, we're going to sit on Bruno and that's going to break up the whole Newcastle attack. That's over now. You have to sit on both of them. You've got to try and deal with this pair that can both come deep and they can swap. They both can come deep. They both can go forward. We've seen Bruno's shot was the rebound that ended up going to be the cross that Tonali scored on. So they were kind of in each other's connectivity in terms of like being back and forth, being a midfield partner. And then the third wheel of that, which I love the most, because Joe Ellington, whatever the hell his name is, to be a striker in Germany and to have Eddie Howe go, you know what? You're a shitty striker. What you should be is a ball-winning midfielder who kicks the shit out of people. And that's what he does. He just never stops running. He's such an athlete. And that Newcastle team, they ran over Aston Villa, especially in the second half. First half I thought was even when Villa was kind of connected and they were sort of both playing. You had the back and forth, all the new boys scoring. You had Tonali score, then you had Diaby score. Watkins had a chance, and it was pretty even. Isak was just a difference maker. What an incredible player. I think the Mings injury really hurt Aston Villa. They mentally sort of dropped a little bit, where they were like, we lost Buendia the day before to an ACL. Then they lose Mings to an ACL. They got to feel hard done. Like, we made this great transfer. The news is great. We've got a great coach. And now we've got to try and overcome this. And then I think Newcastle just ran them over.
But, Newcastle is just well run, man. From like I almost I'm telling you, man, I said it. They're going to make the Champions League this year, and they're really going to contend for the Premier League title. I do believe that with my heart. And I know there's just one game. I get that. I don't want to get...
No, this is overreaction time. This is when you do it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm telling you, I see it, and one thing I will say, that stadium, those fans, we talk about Liverpool, we talk about all these clubs, and I got a good reaction from Chelsea fans when they scored, and the crowd goes up and the camera shakes. But when Tonali scored that goal, that's the loudest goal I've heard in a while in a Premier League match. You know what I mean?
St. James's Park, man, it's no joke.
It's no joke, and it's. I almost want to say this, and not in the bad way, but it almost doesn't seem colorful. It seems like a cemetery almost. It's smoky, black and white, and it feels like people go there to get killed. And I love it. I'm all nice. About that stuff. And
yeah. I think excited. I mean, that's the thing that I think is going to be so interesting. So Liverpool has lived. I like to juxtapose things with Liverpool because I think Newcastle and Liverpool, in terms of stadiums, in terms of iconic, in terms of like the fandom, they're they're connected in that way. If Liverpool can if Anfield swallows teams alive like it does, you've seen it with Barcelona, City have been run over. Sometimes those stadiums can lift to a level where you can't handle it. Like your team collapses and goes into the ground, right? Like Barcelona, the greatest team ever with Messi, they died in that stadium, right? It just fell apart. They were eaten by the ground. I think that St. James's Park can get there, and we'll see what happens. Those first Champions League nights in Newcastle in the winter. It's cold. That place is on the ocean. That town is the farthest thing England has. It's way up in the northeast on its own, kind of. Like, it's their own culture. And they're out there and they have that team. It's literally, the stadium is literally at the top of a hill in the middle of town. You can look down on the whole city. And it is a beacon. The lights will be on. The whole city will see it. And, you know, there are a few stadiums that can get that way. I mean, I think the San Siro and I think Napoli's and the Diego Maradona, right. Yeah, Anfield, not Manchester City, but I think Old Trafford can at times. Aston Villa does have that in the Holt End. There are some stadiums that have that. We've seen it from Brentford at times. We've seen it at Goodison Park that they've saved Everton. There are just a few stadiums, and I think, you know, what's the other one that I think about? Newcastle's ground. You know, that they save their ass when they play there. So there are stadiums that fans can save you, and I think you're right to call out Newcastle. The only reason I think a lot of people aren't supporting Newcastle's European campaign or season campaign is just first time Wednesday nights into Saturday nights. How does the team handle it? Can they handle it? And we did see some depth. Isak came off. Callum Wilson comes on, scores a nice goal. Anthony comes off. What's his name? I'm trying to look for these guys' names as I go. Sorry. Anthony Gordon comes off. Harvey Barnes comes on. He scores a goal. So they do have some depth. You know, Bruno came off. They got Sean Longstaff, who was the regular starter last year, back on. Almiron comes off. Murphy comes on. So they have some players that can help them. And they have Elliot Anderson to come on as well, a youngster who came on for Tonali in the last minute. So they're starting to build some depth. I think the questions are, is Eddie Howe really a Champions League level manager? Can he manage this team and keep them with him? We don't know. It's very rare that new managers get minted. We've been sort of living in the Mourinho, Pep, Klopp era. I would say those are the three. Yeah. Maybe there's a couple. And Ancelotti, let's throw him in there. Zidane did really well, but those three. And who's going to break in? We have maybe an Arteta, who might be somebody who goes on to coach at Real Madrid or Barcelona. We have now Xavi's doing pretty well, I'd say, and now we have Eddie Howe, and we'll see if Eddie Howe stays at Newcastle or can transcend and go somewhere else. Maybe he'll just stay for a long time. I don't know, but it's good to see new managers coming in to replace some of these bigger managers, because they're not going to coach forever, and we need to have that next crop. We thought it was going to be Nagelsmann, and it may still be. He just was a little bit too young.
All right. Well, that was a great match, and we'll see what develops for Newcastle this year. And now, as far as the Big Six or Big Five, whatever, Big 20, whatever you want to call it, because
Big 20,
people get upset.
It's getting bigger.
They want to throw Aston Villa, West Ham United. They want to throw everybody. They're going to throw Brentford next time. You know, they're going to get everybody gets upset because you leave somebody out. Obviously,
listen. They're big because they control things.
Yeah, but and then we got, of course, you know, Manchester United and the Wolves today. They played, and you were telling me I did not watch the match. I'm sorry for that. A really good game. I thought, and United fans will admit this, they got away with one. They played badly. I think we saw some of the issues that United had in the past, which is this kind of slow build up, not really able to connect passes, kind of like, who are you? Are you my teammate? What do I do? We saw a debut for Mason Mount. We saw him in the team. It was just slow, ponderous, didn't really work. Rashford down the middle, Garnacho to his left with Anthony. Anthony was a 3 out of 10. Just awful. Just so bad. I mean, I'm worried for him. He shouldn't play. Honestly, he's bad. Garnacho was a little bit of too much, trying to do too much when they got in the final third. And then Wolves, just a really fantastic performance. A lot of power in the midfield. If you go back and watch this game, Mateus Cunha was playing striker, but he was coming deep,
taking the ball off the central defense and literally running through the entire Manchester United. He did it at least 3 or 4 times. An incredible performance. And the only issue Wolves had, which is the issue Wolves has had for 2 years, they are incredible in the first 2/3. And I mean, they should have won. Could not finish anything. Could not get on the end of things. When they shot it into the ground. They shot it over the bar. But everything on balance was Wolves winning this game. They were fantastic. And they should feel hard done in the last minute of the game. As Wolves is pushing to level this game, the goal came from one moment from United with Bruno over the top, hits it to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka heads it back across. Varane had been pushing in. This was like a 2-minute spell where United pushed in the second half. They got their goal and then they stopped. But Wolves never stopped. And the only reason they got the goal is because Wolves had been on a break across the whole pitch like 3 or 4 times in a 5-minute spell, and they were exhausted in the middle of the game, and United got their chance. But in the last minute of the game, Onana comes out. There's a cross into the box. 2 Wolves players go for it. Dawson and another guy whose name I'm not even going to try and say. Onana comes out, has his eye on the ball, tries to fist it, and simply punches both guys in the head.
Yeah, well, that's a penalty.
After they head the ball away. No call.
That's a penalty. And I've seen it.
It should have been a penalty.
I see it all over the place because it almost looks like the goalkeepers can kill anybody and nothing happens.
They can kill anyone.
Whatever Martinez.
It should have been a penalty.
Because in this stuff, and you have also Martinez had
Martinez does it all the time.
And, the problem with him also is that he talks a lot. And
yeah, I like it.
He says, well, but I don't like when he taunts attackers and he gets away with it, but if they do something about it, they get in trouble. And he's actually been said
the guy put the golden glove on his Johnson at the end of the World Cup. Yeah. I mean, what are you doing?
Right. But
show some class.
Exactly. But I mean, it is what it is, and the part that we were talking about.
Yeah. So Wolves could have had a penalty at the end of the game.
Exactly.
What was funny was as it was happening, the referee starts walking over towards the monitor, and you're like, oh, he's going to review it. He goes to Gary O'Neill, shows him a yellow, and then he goes back. He didn't even review it. He didn't even look at it.
Wow.
The thing that I think about when I think about it is like, if it were a goalkeeper one-on-one and the defender was running at him at pace and the defender and the attacker just hit the ball around him and then the goalkeeper smashed him, it's a penalty all day, every day, twice on Sunday. But because it's a cross and they're in the box, essentially a goalkeeper is allowed to run someone over. And Tim Howard was on the NBC broadcast in the U.S. and he said, this is not going to be a penalty. And his rationale was, it should be, but I've never seen it given. He said he'd never seen a goalkeeper get called for that, and they should keep doing it until it's called. Although last season, Ederson did have it called against Arsenal, which pissed me off. But that's another story for another day. You remember your own team's digressions. Anyway, so that was cool. That was art. That was the United game. They got away lucky. They can sort of just go, you know what, we got our win. We'll move on and try and get better the next game. But I did not like what I saw at all. It was bad. Now Mason Mount was terrible.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to point that out. I was going to ask you, how did he perform under?
Well, I think the issue is with him is that he's really good off the ball. He did good pressing. He stayed in shape. He harassed and harangued and did all the things that he's supposed to do. The reason why he's still not at Chelsea is, and the reason why strikers at Chelsea always fail, he's not a line-breaking passing midfielder. He just simply doesn't have that great brain. And I was calling for them to bring on Eriksen. And the second United brought on Eriksen, everything started boom, boom, boom. You started to see Rashford get in because Eriksen is a real lockpick. And that was the move that they needed. So they're having a problem with balance of just like Eriksen is not a great defender. Bruno is not a great defender. These guys are not going to harass. They're not Tonali. They're not Tonali, Guimaraes, and Joe Linton, who arguably outside of Manchester City, is the best midfield in the Premier League, or will be by the end of the season. They're fantastic. But United is still trying to find the balance. They have a lot of players who can do one thing well, but not the other thing. Like Wan-Bissaka is incredible on defense. Like every time I watch him, I'm over the moon for how good he is. But when he's in attack, you just stand off him because he can't cross the ball and he can't pass and he can't do anything. So they don't seem to have those players that can do both things at the same time. They can't walk and chew gum.
Okay, well, to wrap up with some results, of course, West Ham United and Bournemouth tie 1-1. I wanted to watch Brighton and Luton Town. I really wanted to watch that.
Oh, I did.
Why? I don't know why, but I wanted to watch that.
Because I keep telling you to watch
Brighton. I know you watched that one. Of course, you're going to watch that one. You're a loser watching Luton Town and Brighton. Brighton is
I love it. I love it.
Brighton is becoming the Trump of the Premier League, just selling players, selling them as I like Caicedo, and we're gonna let's get into that.
£240 million, just from Chelsea in the last 18 months.
Yeah, their profit margins are huge right now. That's out of the extraordinary. Really, I mean, they're doing their thing. Hopefully, I mean, imagine. But here's the thing, though. Can Brighton actually try to acquire a name, not a big name, but just somebody with a name to their club? You know what I mean?
Hey, Chris, you're just showing the Arsenal Nottingham Forest score right now on the screen.
Okay, that's fine.
Just a side note. Okay. That's all I see.
Okay. But so I'm asking you though, can actually Brighton? Do you think they would look at this and say, maybe we can go for somebody that's maybe? I mean, we're not going to get a big name, but certainly you have to put money in play.
They have been signing guys, so they've made a couple of moves. They were in on Kundus from Ajax, but they already have their guys, right? They've already made their moves.
Yeah.
With Brighton, you're not going to know who the guy is. They're simply going to come in and be really good, and you're going to go, holy shit, where the fuck did they find that guy?
So this is a good,
like this kid Indigra, Simon Indingra, incredible already. They basically already have Matoma's replacement, and they haven't had to sell Matoma yet. You know what I mean? So, he's fantastic.
Now, are you able to watch the highlights now?
I'm not seeing anything. All I'm seeing is Arsenal 0, Nottingham Forest 0, halftime score at 0.
How are you seeing that? That's incredible. But anyways, my thing is, so before we get into the Caicedo thing, which is going to be really, really interesting, what does Brighton sales, and that's perfect. They have a lot. They get a lot of money back. But would they ever put this in play into actually getting somebody that's, again, not a big name, but somebody that, not just go for youth players or really players that most people don't know about. You know what I mean? You get my point, though.
Yeah.
Sure. Could they do that? Do you think they can attract somebody? Because I mean, you're talking about 200 million.
Oh,
they can definitely. I
don't think they need to. I think the way that they grow is by retaining the players that they find. So the way that Brighton will win and be a better team is when Enciso hits, because he won goal of the year last year. Do they get to a point where they don't have to sell him, where he's on £50,000 a week? He can go, you know what? We really want you. Stay one more season. We'll put you on 150,000 a week. So, right? That's what will make them win. They don't need to buy players right now. They're in the let's build up as many guys as we can, find our core, pay them, and grow with them.
Okay, but look, so let me go to last year, and this is it's going to prove your point. I was hoping not, but it's proving your point. Because Brighton last year finished 6th, so I'll give them that. But are we in a situation where even though smaller clubs sell and, in this particular case, sold for a lot of money, a lot of profit?
A lot.
Are we in a position to say that big clubs are always going to have the advantage, even though if they don't sell enough, or because a name, they're always going to prefer to go to a big club? Is that? I mean, I know there's a question that's
I understand. I understand where you're going. Is how sustainable are, I think, the two clubs that I talk about the most, that I'm most interested in what they do, are Brentford and Brighton. Right? Yeah. They are the two most progressive clubs, I think, and maybe the audience doesn't know, but I've talked about this on the Squeaky Bum Time podcast a lot. They are both owned by guys who ran gambling companies. They sell gambling data. Tony Benheim owns Brentford, and Tony Bloom owns Brighton. Both those guys used to work together, and they split apart. They made so much money in gambling and gambling data that they were able to parlay those teams into buying the teams. Tony Bloom, a longtime fan of Brighton. Anyway, but the reason why I bring that up is they're very, very, very analytical teams. They are run perfectly from top to bottom. Otherwise, none of it would work, right? Yeah. So I think that what they can do is, on lower budgets, is they can compete with the rich teams that are run poorly. They can't compete with a rich team that's run well. So they're never going to get to where Arsenal are, who turn themselves around. They're never going to get to where City are. They're never going to get to where Liverpool are, although we might have to question Liverpool in terms of how they're run. But the way Spurs are, they can catch Spurs. They can catch Aston Villa. They can catch United. They're going to take points off United because United. So
is Brighton? Well, they're going to compete for the Europa League, correct? They're in the.
They are correct.
Don't you think that? Because I feel like what I think is
they'll get rated. I mean, eventually they'll lose their players. Eventually, it's too much. You can't hit every time.
Yeah, I just feel like
eventually it collapses. Yeah.
Just to finish up the point, I just feel like, I haven't seen an attempt really. You don't hear much of Brighton trying to maybe stay competitive for the Europa League. Who knows? I mean, listen.
I think they will go for it. I think they will. I think De Zerbi's there. Yeah, they're going to go for it. Sure.
Yeah.
I think that the question will be health, and if someone comes in for De Zerbi, does he go? I think that's where they could get hurt. There's only so many great coaches who are willing to work in these types of clubs. They elevated. I think they elevated Potter. They identified him. He did really well. He went a bridge too far. He just probably joined Chelsea at the exact wrong time, but he couldn't pass it up. De Zerbi inherits a team that is already well coached, is well stocked with players, and he's able to convey his messages. But if, say, Ange Postecoglou goes really bad at Spurs and Levy fires him, does De Zerbi go to Spurs? If Liverpool, for some unknown reason, Jurgen Klopp's just like, I'm done, I'm over it, that's a Liverpool spot. I think De Zerbi's a chance for Liverpool. Or, God forbid, Eddie Howe, something happens and he wants to go to Bayern Munich. Would he go to Newcastle? So I think the key thing is just like, how do you survive the losing of brain drain? Because these teams are animals. It's so competitive that if you can grab people from a successful club and try and get some of that, you do. And we'll go into some of these transfers. That's what Chelsea did. Chelsea, who had a great game versus Liverpool, we can transition into that, and we can transition into these Lavia Caicedo things.
Yeah.
Chelsea hired Manchester City's academy guy who ran the academy, who had become the director of football at Southampton. He got Lavia to Southampton from City, who he recruited, and now he's moved on to Chelsea because there was a big gap, and people like what happened at Southampton. They had been a well-run club, and he is the reason that Lavia is going to Chelsea. So these guys move around. There's a brain drain. You show up, you move. That's what's happened at Liverpool. A lot of great guys who are behind the scenes, the back office staff of Jurgen Klopp has moved on. So there's a lot of like hemming and hawing, and you're seeing Liverpool sort of losing out on deals, even though they had a great summer, I think. But these last three deals.
So let's transition into that. Let's talk about that, and we're going to talk about Chelsea, Liverpool too, because there's a lot of takes on that. Now, Caicedo declining Liverpool, and I said, look, I think Caicedo is going to join Liverpool because it's Liverpool. But of course, what Simon Jordan said this, and it's important, and I didn't take that in consideration, is that the kid has built a relationship with Chelsea for a while now. So they're two big clubs, and at the end of the day, of course, he's going to feel more familiar to go with Chelsea. Not to say that Liverpool is less than Chelsea. That's obviously not the point. But it is a loss for Liverpool, and I think it happened with what was Luis Diaz, if I'm not mistaken. That Chelsea
They
wanted him
got
as
yes,
well.
they swiped him from Spurs.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that would have been obvious. But so I guess you could say, well, it goes around, comes around, right? I mean, at the end, it was. But
Well, I mean, it's like again, it's super duper competitive. Everything is the Premier League. What makes the Premier League so good, and if I could go on an MLS rant, and what makes the MLS an American sport so crap is this is the most capitalist, cutthroat,
yeah,
play to win league there is. That you cannot rest if you're not progressing, you're going backwards.
yeah,
It's really, really hard, especially for you. We were talking about Brighton and some of these smaller teams. They can't make a single mistake.
but
Liverpool can make little mistakes.
I'll tell you
Manchester
this,
United can make a lot of mistakes. City can make some mistakes. Small teams can. Their margin for error is tiny. They can't make mistakes.
I will tell you this. I think that this is a big loss for Liverpool, not because they're taking Lavia, because at the end of the day, these are two young players that really could get it done, and we'll see how Caicedo does in a big club as well. Again,
yeah, the freaking out over Lavia is a little much. I mean, the guy got relegated. He's not that good.
But I will say that Caicedo is needed more at Liverpool than Chelsea. I feel like I almost feel like Caicedo would be their missing piece to actually win the title.
He would absolutely be their missing piece. That's correct.
And the part is that of course you lose him and he goes to Chelsea, but you can't do well. You're Liverpool Football Club, and what I've seen around social media is a sadness, as if Gerrard had signed for Chelsea himself. You know what I mean? But it can't be that. You're Liverpool. You have to move on. You know, Romeo Lavia, he might not be, the player that you wanted, but he is still a talented player. I don't agree with you saying that he's not. He sucks. Well, you didn't.
Oh no, that. Is he ready to be the 6 for Liverpool, a team that wants to win the league? No.
I'll be honest with you. I don't even know if Caicedo is that. Even though they both wanted him.
Right. But Caicedo was a member of a team in Brighton that were fighting for the top 4 all season, are in Europe this season, and he didn't miss a single game for that team. And he led the league. He was the most creative player with the most interceptions and the most blocks in the division. So he clearly has a thing.
But right? We'll agree that I mean, just where they finished off, it could be a contribution of themselves, but I mean, it's a team sport. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to necessarily say, okay, they finish higher, so that's why Caicedo is better than.
Oh no. I understand that. I'm not saying that. But
Sunderland, I mean,
yeah,
come on, and Brighton obviously has done things well, and you have to admit that. But really I mean, you really have to.
Let's just keep in mind, right? Liverpool finished 5 points ahead of Brighton. They're not that far off from each other. Okay,
right?
They're close, and right. I do think Caicedo would have made a huge difference. I mean, he would have looked good in red. He almost would have looked like Wijnaldum, a sort of massive sort of destroyer. And they still the thing is like, you're right. Liverpool shouldn't panic. Go to the next player on the list.
That can't be.
Go find another 6. If they're out there.
If you tell me that this was like, if you consider him the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League, and he, which could be, I mean, from what people think, but I'm saying if it's like somebody with name and a superstar, the kind of almost, I can't really, or Casemiro per se, could be not now, but before, like one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. So if that happened, then, I get it, but I mean, you have to move on. You can't dwell on just a player. You have to get it done because it's ticking. You got 15 days to get something done. You know what I mean? To get somebody.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think it'll be okay. I think, Liverpool fans shouldn't panic. They shouldn't freak out. Another thing to think about is in this game against Chelsea, the first half hour, they were really, really great. They probably could have blown the game open and went up 2. Couple of VAR calls. The VAR call that pulled the Salah goal back.
There was a penalty also.
Gave Chelsea life. But then Chelsea scored the 2, and they ended up 1-1. And the second half, though, Chelsea were fantastic. I think the story for this game is Liverpool are good. They're going to be fine. I thought McAllister deep was fantastic. The pass out to
Yes,
Salah,
it was
and then the
good.
pass that Salah made to Diaz was just top notch.
No,
listen, hair raising, so good.
What I see Salah do, I say Salah, whatever. I mean, I almost feel like he's 53, and I don't know how old he is really, but he is a veteran. He's a veteran of the game. You know, his hair is all messed up, and I think he's got a bald spot right there. But he's
fantastic. I mean, he's so good. He makes that team go.
That goal that was annulled by. I feel like it should have been a shame. The VAR has to have a rule. I think FIFA needs to put this in place. If the goal is that good, you cannot deny it. You saw the way
don't get me started. Don't get me started on VAR. I hate it. I don't want it. It's terrible.
Now, but did you see how he scored that goal? I don't even think that was. I think he did it with his left foot. Is he right-footed or left-footed? Okay,
he's left-footed.
But no, then he
did it with his right.
Yeah, it's so good, and I almost felt like the goalkeeper was foolish for letting that go. But he was so good. Now,
I know.
You mentioned some takes, but to me, this is the headline. And is Salah beefing with his coach?
I forgot about that already.
No, you cannot forget that. Is he beefing with Klopp, man? And what is happening?
Well, listen, so Salah, to be as good as he is, as much as he plays with a smile, he's a hyper competitor. If you remember a few years back, he and Mane had some beef on the field a couple times too, about who's scoring to who, who's passing to who. And I think Klopp will just be like, hey, I don't want him to want to come off. However, in the second half of that game, he disappeared. Now, you're coming off for an 18-year-old? Fine. Maybe Klopp knew something about his team that we don't know. Trent Alexander-Arnold in the post-game desk interview, he was like, we were holding on for that point. We were like, let's not lose this game. So Liverpool did play that way in the back half of the game. They kind of sat deep. And Salah's not a guy you want to have sitting deep. However, I did think if they were going to win the game, it was going to come from Salah. There's something weird going on where he doesn't want to play certain players together. I guess he felt like he had pace with Darwin Nunez coming on. Darwin Nunez took one shot. Maybe it looked like he was going to come off. But listen, Salah shouldn't want to come off. I don't think he has beef with Klopp. Those guys have been together now. They've won Champions League together. They did 90, almost 100-point seasons. They're fine. That's just football. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think so.
To me though, the story is Chelsea are good. That team's good.
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
surprised.
And we can talk about that.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. How good is Chelsea? I mean, what are the expectations for this season? Obviously, they're a big team, so I mean, that could be debatable. I
think the big thing was, to me, like you have to put everything into context, right? Last season, Chelsea were one of the worst performing teams I've ever seen. Like once Frank Lampard took over, it was catastrophically bad. Rory Smith, who's this Chelsea YouTuber and shows up on TalkSport, he was like, we're going to get relegated. We're going to get relegated. He was losing his mind. Now, granted, that's just hot take talk. That's fine. But they scored 38 goals in a 38-game season. Just to give you, they scored one goal a game. So the issue for Chelsea was never the defense. They were very good at protecting the ball, holding on to it, whatever. It's the scoring. They had no creativity to score. And I thought what I liked that I saw was, as the game went on, Chico Mecca, Enzo, and Gallagher really worked well together in the midfield and slowly but surely took control of the midfield from Slobozai, McAllister, and who's the third in Liverpool? I can't remember anything. Slobozai, McAllister, and God. Anyway, the third midfielder, I can't remember.
Gakpo
got control of the game. Gakpo, right, because Gakpo's not a midfielder. So they sort of realized, hey, these guys aren't midfielders. Let's get a hold of this thing and start popping it around. There was no six to sort of break things up. And Enzo kept on getting on the ball and making really good passes that I thought
he was good.
Nicholas Jackson had a few really good chances that he got on the end of things. To be fair, I thought Konate and Van Dijk were good. Alisson made saves as usual, but I thought Chelsea created stuff more than I'd seen them create in a really long time. Jackson's really, really good. I think he's going to score at least 15 for this team, provided he plays. Reece James was fantastic, terrorizing. The whole wingback thing, they were terrorizing
I love
Liverpool,
Rhys
because
James.
Liverpool was playing really
Colwell.
narrow, playing with the three, trying to get Colwell. Also very good. Very
Hey,
good.
Chilwell.
I mean, all of it was good. All of it was good. Chilwell, Colwell, all of them.
One player that I will say that gave me good vibes was Sterling. I thought he was almost getting washed off. Listen, they gave him time.
He did have his best game in Chelsea colors. To be fair, I know Raheem Sterling really well. I know what he looks like when he's playing well, and I know what it looks like when he's playing bad. The issue with Raheem Sterling is he's the worst finisher ever, but he does get into really, really good positions. But what you want with Raheem is less time on the ball dribbling. You want him moving without the ball. So you want him on the back post when you've gotten the ball to the byline. He scored 15 tap-ins a season with City. It was incredible. He would just get to the back post however he could. Now, he was good at sort of carrying the ball from that wing area and getting to sort of a couple yards before the 18-yard box, then letting it go and running to the back post where you sort of lose track of him. But he was going a little bit too far, holding the ball a little bit too long. But he and Reece James on their side, they were killing Robertson because Gakpo and Diaz did not track back at all. And they were just leaving Robertson on an island. It looked like he was dead.
Now, Mudryk is a really good player.
Really good runs at the end there. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's wearing number 10. He's a sub. I don't, but whatever.
They got too many guys. Who knows what the fuck's going on with Chelsea?
We gotta I'm a conservative football mind, man. The 10 needs to be the best player. The 9 needs to be the best striker you got. You know what I mean? But Mudryk, I like Mudryk.
11 on the wing, 7 on the other side.
Yeah. No. And the goalkeeper needs to be. I don't want to see. And I don't
Number
want
one.
to see. I don't want to see players with. I see this in the Mexican league. 120,
99.
130. What the hell is going on with football? The football world has gone mad. You know what I mean?
It has gone mad. But yeah, I really thought Chelsea were good, and I'm impressed with them.
No.
Really think they can do something now, especially Caicedo, Enzo all together.
No,
I don't know what happens to Gallagher.
That Caicedo
Gallagher is the one who's going to lose out.
Yeah, that Caicedo Enzo is going to be
That's
a good deal.
pair.
So the Premier League week 1, and it was a really good weekend. We did a watch along for the Arsenal. I did the watch along for the Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest, and that was really good, interesting. And I did the full time. Of course, you did your reaction to the match of to Harry Kane's debut.
I did all of them,
and
I did. Yeah, Tottenham Brentford was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
we're leaving that one out. Let me just give a minute to Ange Postecoglou. Really, really different to see Tottenham playing with the ball. It was unbelievable. I was totally disoriented after 4 years of Conte, Mourinho, and Nuno. I forgot that Spurs could play. I was like, holy shit, look at them go. Look at them popping the ball around. It was amazing.
Now, what do you think? I know you did your take on this, but we can expand a little bit on Harry Kane's first day as a Bayern Munich player.
It's more of a joke than an actual take. He came on, they were already down 2. I mean,
no, but I mean, I will be honest with you. Actually, I saw Bayern. I watched that game, and I felt like they played better when Kane came in. Obviously,
of course,
but it is a tough loss to
Leipzig,
and of course it adds to the
Harry Kane stuff, memes,
and everybody, Tottenham fans also throwing it out there, even though they love Harry Kane. But he will get the championship eventually, man. But I mean,
I don't know.
You don't think so? What do you mean you don't think so? He'll win.
Oh no. Sorry, no. They'll win the Bundesliga easy.
No,
not a problem.
but a lot of people in the chat, a lot of people in the chat are so much into Premier League, and I get it, but they're not gonna win the Champions League. They're just a bunch of drunk Germans, and man, I'm telling you, man, when it comes to the Champions League. And we're going to talk about that in depth, of course, later on.
It's bad.
It's a dog-eat-dog world.
Good luck. You need luck. It's
a dog-eat-dog world, and it's going to be tough. I even though I say Newcastle is going to do good in the Champions League, don't know if they're going to make it, past the group stage.
We have to wait. We have to wait to see what the groups look like. It depends who you get.
That's true.
Depends on the draw.
So I would never say, but Bayern Munich are not one of the teams I would say they're not going to win it. Because they're always going to be there.
Oh, of course, they're
Always going to be
always there. They're always there.
there.
They're always there. But now I think there's another team that's there. I think City now have to be listed as they could win it now. I think it felt like they couldn't, and now it feels like they can.
That's in all honesty, that's for the ignorant to say. I've always had Manchester City. I know there's a lot of debate and a lot of shade thrown by fans, but
they almost lost they were so nervous in that final. So nervous.
That is true.
It was incredible.
But so was Inter, and they won it before a couple of times. So you know what I mean. Yeah. Inter, even though they have been shit, but it is what it is. Now let's focus to some more European news, and one of the big ones is this one right here. Neymar closing in, about to go to an undergoing a medical ahead of a 90 million pound move to Al-Hilal. Is this the end?
Adios, bye. See you later.
Of the Brazilian star. He has passed, and this is why I tell people, and it is our job, the people that listen, the people that watch, to let them know who the legends were before and what the importance of their game was and how they shaped the game. And not only that, but that today is easy to break stats and records and almost be like, okay, the people before didn't exist. He has broken Pelé's record now he's got it beaten by a mile for Brazil. He has done nothing nowhere near what Pelé did for Brazil, and actually nowhere near what Pelé did for football in the world. So just to throw that out there. And Neymar, even though I like the way he played in the very beginning. Right now, it almost seems like it's about the cash, and it's not because he's going to Saudi Arabia, but it has been for a while. He hasn't been playing. He's kind of been all over the place talking about when he's going to retire and making statements during competitions like the World Cup, saying that this might be my last one. I'm going to retire young, and I'm going to go to the MLS. I don't want to go back to Brazil, and is obviously this has to be over for him as far as top elite football.
I'm not a fan of this player. I know that he got injured, but he got injured because he was always trying to embarrass people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'd sit on the ball. He always thought he could get past people. And what would they do? They'd kick him in the ankles. And he wondered why he was hurt all the time. Because of the way he played. He deserved it in a weird way. Like, you're trying to embarrass people all the time. They're not going to let you do that. The thing that I like to show, that I always look at with him, is since he got to PSG, his first season, 20 games. This is in the league. Now, Champions League and other things, he has failed to play. He played over 20 games just once in 7 seasons now. His best season was his first season. He averaged 1.6 goals and assists per game, which is incredible. It went down every year until last season when he had a decent season of 13 and 11. But it had been declining. He had been in decline from a very high peak. I have to be clear. But he never scored 20 goals at PSG. His first 2 seasons at Barcelona were 20-goal seasons, and he was supposed to be. I think the issue for him is where it started. He was supposed to be the mantle from Messi and Ronaldo,
yeah.
And he's clearly not that. It's Mbappe. Mbappe is the guy.
Yeah.
And from a culture perspective, football culture perspective, he is a massive, massive, massive star. I was talking to Kartik Krishnaiyer from World Football Talk, World Soccer Talk. They have a podcast that they do media, but he wrote that he thought that MLS should get Neymar because, for casual fans, Neymar still matters. But for hardcore football people, we're like, whatever. But there are only really 5 or 6 players that move the dial. I think that the Premier League, why it's so big is that the Premier League itself and the brands of the teams themselves are bigger than the players. And they did that on purpose. There's only Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Haaland now, I think, is in that, Mbappe. He argued that Kane is a big name internationally. I'm like, no, he's not. He's boring. Those 5, and then Pogba and Zlatan were also in that list, but they're now gone. But those 7 names are the only ones that have any brand power in terms of footballers. I can't think of any other football player who's playing right now that is bigger than their club, right? Those are the 6 or 5, I think. And everyone else doesn't matter. And Neymar lives based on being good and winning. but he's in decline. He looks bloated. He looks partied out. He looks done as a superstar. To go to Saudi Arabia at 31 is a travesty. He should be in his prime. He should be in his prime. Look at Ronaldo. Ronaldo at 31 was winning Champions Leagues, right? I'm going to check that right now. Like, what are you doing?
He was competing for
what are you doing? Yeah. Right? I just want to make sure I get Ronaldo's numbers, right? Yeah. At 30 is when they won the 3 Champions Leagues in a row. Ronaldo was 30. They won the Champions League. Then they did a double. They won the league and the Champions League, and they won it again. Anything at 30, right? Ronaldo was scoring 31 goals at 34, 35, 29 goals. Scored 14 last year. Never missed a game. Over 2,500 minutes a season for 15 straight years. What are you doing, Neymar? It's ridiculous. The greats don't get hurt because they know how to play.
Anyways, well, that's a good take on Neymar's situation. More than likely, he'll be done for the future. And hey, man, don't forget to lock your car. Don't forget to lock your car over there. Hey, I wanted to actually bring this up because I haven't talked about this guy ever because I really didn't know his situation. And then you guys told me on the chat, and of course, it is going to be Mason Greenwood. For Manchester United.
Very tricky situation.
Yeah, didn't know about it, but
very tricky.
A lot of fans don't want him back because of what he's been accused. 21 years old.
Yes,
but a lot of people say
really bad.
Hasn't been. So has he been proven guilty of this?
No. They dropped the charges, and the girl dropped the charges, and they're still together. So the story is that there's a lot of social media, a lot of images of him basically roughing her up, threatening to kill her, scratches on her neck, really, really bad stuff.
Yeah.
And he's basically missed 2 seasons, I guess, 22, 23 this season. And then, he's still only 2021. The thing about him was when he came up with the team, he was really right there kind of with Rashford or gonna be on the other side where Anthony plays. He is fantastic. Like if I just think about it from football, at 17 years old to score 10 goals in the Premier League is incredible.
Yeah.
The people who have done that have become superstars. That's how good he is. And when I say he's 2-footed, he literally can fire the ball equally with both feet. An incredible, incredible talent. Before Ronaldo came in, he looked like he was going to nail that spot down. Ronaldo comes in, he loses a little bit there under Ole, and then the accusation and the problems come up, and he basically misses a season. There are some protests from a small amount of fans, specifically female fans, who think it's enabling and patriarchy and all those things. That's fine. I can't disagree with that.
Is it fine though? Because we just don't know if he's guilty or not at this point. I mean,
we have social media stuff, we have court stuff, we have testimony.
Okay,
but he's just not. He's not guilty, but I think the question is
you think he's done it?
Do we cancel football? He may have, but
so
it doesn't matter.
No.
What do we want from our footballers? I think the question is do we forgive people? Do we give a 19-year-old kid a chance to redeem himself?
I believe so.
I think we have to. I think it's only right as a just society. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you give a chance to anybody? And now I know that they are influencers, and they influence people in a certain extent, because people follow them, etc. But if he is, feels remorse, and if he did it, because I really don't know. I haven't watched any pictures. I don't know any audio.
It was pretty bad. Okay, it's pretty bad.
And he needs to be held accountable. But at the end of the day, we again, like. He should have been prosecuted.
They didn't press charge. Right. He's according to the law. Right. According to the law, he's not guilty. This is the weird thing is this isn't a football decision. From a football perspective, he should play. Period. Because he's fantastic. Let's just leave that aside. From a football perspective, he should play. He's better than anyone that United have on that side. But Anthony will never play again. He's that good. He's
players,
incredible.
But that players will make these decisions to separate them based on what they've been accused of.
Let's just remember, and I'm not trying to put Ronaldo on blast, but Ronaldo had the same thing, right?
Exactly, but they didn't do anything about that.
Right? It happened. Well, they paid the woman off, whatever.
Well, exactly. It's almost the same thing. But they didn't.
Wayne Rooney had the same thing. He literally was sleeping with granny hookers and his wife Colleen. They had to talk about it, right? Like the difference is that he paid and it was in a newspaper and it was disgusting, right? This is football. Now, this is a violent thing. Like he threatened to kill her. He scratched her. There was marks on her neck, and she shared it on social, and that became a thing. Yeah. So it was her sharing of it that became a thing, right? That made it public and you could see it, right? But in American football, we have tons of this. You know, we have
all the time.
We have Ray Rice knocking that girl out and then dragging her out of the elevator. That was crazy. You know, that was bad. You know, we've got tons and tons, and guys come back from it. And in the worst case scenario, we have Caruth, who literally killed someone, right? And he went to jail and he's gone. But what as a society do we want to value? Do we want to put a kid away forever?
No,
or ruin his career?
Exactly.
I don't know.
You know why you said you just mentioned? You mentioned a lot of cases, and if you actually put it in perspective, they're compared to the amount of players there are in the world. There's probably not a lot, but even though it is wrong to do with this stuff. You know why you mentioned some
women.
No, exactly. But you know why you mentioned all those people, all those players? It's because it happens everywhere. Unfortunately, this happens in every profession. It's just that we're talking about football.
It's called humans.
So unfortunately, they need to be prosecuted, and women or men, because it could happen to either or, can stop. Y'all need to stop taking money for this. I'm not talking about this in particular, but with the Ronaldo case, it was settled out of court. You're gonna tell me that it doesn't seem as if maybe he didn't do it because you're taking money from him. You know what I mean?
Or rich people pay people off, right?
But why would you take the money? But why would you take the money?
Yeah, I understand. By the way, it happened to Basuma. Basuma, who plays for Tottenham, he missed half a season because he went to a nightclub and someone said that he did something, and all of a sudden it's fine. Happened to Edward Mendy. I mean, not Edward Mendy, but Benjamin Mendy for City. He got off. He got off, but he lost 2 years of his career. Now, did he do it? I don't know. But his career is over.
It's over because he's playing in France somewhere, and he was playing in a top football club. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, because it is tough. It is tough, but I mean, this is a 21-year-old kid. It's
young when it happened, even younger. But the thing is that it's now not a football situation.
No,
it is a brand and business situation. Does Adidas, who literally United actually consulted with them, does Adidas want a kid to put on their shirt, and do they want to tarnish the brand of Manchester United? That's really what the issue is. This is a public company that you can buy shares in that is attempted, we forget, they're trying to be sold, that is attempting to sell in a multi-billion-dollar industry for multiple billions of dollars. Do they want to put an accused wife, a girlfriend beater on their team, regardless of play? That's really the question at hand. Do they want to do that? Is it worth it? It might not be worth it.
No, it might not be worth their money. That's absolutely fine. And maybe
if I were this kid, I would go. If I were this kid, I would say, you know what? Send me to
any club.
Italy. Send me to Juve.
If I'm that good,
I'll play for Juve at a price, and I'll just go kick ass.
Listen, if I'm that good, if he's that good, he'll come up.
He is. Again. Well, he was.
You know what I mean? So
I don't know where he is mentally, but I remember him. He was an incredible finisher. Like all the finishes, but from the, Rashford's on the right side, from the left side.
Yeah. All right. Well,
incredible finish.
Now Real Madrid signs goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga from Chelsea.
Hey, nice.
Season long loan deal. This is so perfect for Real Madrid and Chelsea even, because I mean,
well, I think so. Chelsea have Sanchez, another player from Brighton, who's now their goalkeeper. Sasha Guryanov, who's on the who's a writer for The Guardian, goes on the Totally Football podcast out of the UK. He's a goalkeeper, amateur, so he takes goalkeeping very seriously. He's not a fan of Sanchez, and Sanchez did make some passes in that Chelsea game that were suspect, and he had lost his job to Jed Steele under De Zerbi. So it's a not wanted keeper who's now the Chelsea keeper, but Kepa, who is actually one of Chelsea's better players and kept their defense as good as it was, they just gave him away to Real. I don't understand it. I would have kept Kepa and let Sanchez go and let fucking Real Madrid deal with Sanchez. But anyway, that's just. I think Kepa has redeemed himself.
But
right, I understand that. I would have not signed a keeper and just let Kepa play.
But the thing is, this is a great deal for Madrid because they don't have to worry about him.
Oh, it's killer.
After money-wise either. But
it's killer deal.
Now, for Chelsea, I mean, hey, but if you have your priorities straight, if you know that you're not going to play him, why not loan him out and see how he does for a top club? You know what I mean? So I think it could be a deal depending on how you look at things. But,
although, I have to say, I mean, the Madristas are going to maybe not like what they see from Kepa. He can be erratic. He takes weird positions in goal, especially his first season, where you're like, that ball's not supposed to go in. Why did you dive like that? And why did it go in right through the middle of the goal? Well, so he has some positioning issues that are kind of tricky. He's a little bit too emotional sometimes, but he's very good. He's gotten much fitter. He's got his man muscles.
He's going to have to figure it out.
I think it was tough for him at Chelsea.
They will eat him alive over there at BAYERN.
They will eat him alive.
Spanish news media is as lethal as Premier League or English media.
No, I don't think the English Premier League media is. It's definitely worse in Spain. By far.
It's lethal.
And Germany and Italy. Yes, English media is fine.
You see a lot of, I guess, supporters as journalists, and that's the problem because they become really fanatic and really passionate about.
The other thing is the socio thing, where like people who are in the club and work for the team will just put you on blast to somebody they know at us or whatever, which is crazy. What's the other one? Marca is the other one.
Marca, right? AS,
it's crazy.
Mundo. Yeah. Deportivo. I mean, you got a lot of this.
Never stops. Anyway,
killing.
The fact that they still have newspapers in Spain is ridiculous.
Yeah, but people keep buying them. People keep buying them.
Anyway, we're running long. What do we want to talk about?
Well, I mean, that's all the topics we got, man. You know what I mean? Real Madrid, of course, beating Atletico Bilbao and Barcelona tying with Getafe.
Bad.
That's as far as the big clubs, but yeah, that wasn't a good start. I think that's like the fourth or third time in a row that they started with a tie. And Gundogan, took a lot of leadership in the game. I saw good things, but he's gonna need more help and gonna need more. Oh, by the way, Joao Felix, he said, Xavi said that he's willing to let him go as long as the price is right, or I mean not go, but bring him into the team if the price is, because he needs somebody, to be, because Dembele is gone, so he needs a free lancer, I guess you could call it, somebody that will make something happen. I don't know that it'll be Joao Felix, because he is a player that hasn't been.
Is anybody more overrated than Joao Felix? What has he done? Nothing.
Yeah, not really much at Atletico Madrid, but Chelsea. How do you see him at Chelsea? How do you think he did?
Oh, how did he do at Chelsea? That team was a mess. He got into good positions. He got some shots off. He didn't score. I think he probably could have scored a few more. But look at Chelsea, he was okay. He scored 4 goals in 11 starts. Not bad. I think he got a little bit. He got sent off in his first game, so that sucked. But he was okay. But that Chelsea team was a disaster. I don't think you can take what we saw at Chelsea and sort of extrapolate that out. Let's just remember, this is a man who's never scored more than 8 goals in a season at a top league. Okay, Let's just keep that in mind.
No, so,
never played 2,000 minutes in a full season. Sorry, in a league season. All competitions that might be different. But just get him away from Simeone anywhere. Like, you want to talk about, like, I wish one of these players would be really clever. Like, I know they want to go to big teams. I know they want to do the thing that they want to do, but I'm going to bring it back to my beloved Brighton. Go to Brighton. You'll be a goddamn legend. Especially they're going to Europa League, play up front at Brighton. He'll kill.
They might not be able to get him, but they have the money to pay for Joao Felix. Let's just say that.
Yeah, sure they do now.
I'm putting in. That's the plot. The plot's going. But anyways, man, that was it for
or Aston Villa. Go to Aston Villa with Emery.
He would do great at Newcastle. He'd be all right, I guess. But
he doesn't run enough.
But listen, man, I told you about this. We're never gonna agree. Sometimes players, you need to have those players that are just killers, and they, as soon as you go back there, it's like the ball passes or you, but you also need somebody that would just, do their thing and take over.
I don't know, but yeah, but they don't.
That's
that
hashtag,
not a Newcastle. That team runs.
Hashtag Pogba to Manchester United. Anyways, that was it for Football Tonight. Football Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, here with Laurent Cortines. My name is Chris Rodriguez. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. Go to the AMP app and listen to us if you can just listen. Where else are we at? All your audio platforms. Go to the website, topfcnews.com, where you can also watch these or listen to these on demand. And, of course, the podcast, Squeaky Bum Time, by Laurent himself. A lot of Premier League analytics,
Sunday nights, always,
and stupidity on. No, I'm just joking.
A lot of stuff about a lot of XG.
Yeah. So if you want pro-rated stuff, go to the Squeaky Bum Time. Anyways, we'll see you next time, ladies and gents.
Bye.